Welcome back to another Queer Money follow-up. This is number 23. Actually, technically 24, but we didn't count the first one as
Day
one.
0.
And hopefully this will go better than yesterday when we lost all of our technology. So we apologize for the disruption yesterday.
Well, all of the technology that connects us all with you, right?
Yeah.
We had a power outage with our Wi-Fi. For whatever reason, our internet went out.
But we got through the bulk of the important stuff, so hopefully you got everything that you needed. But today we have an important question for you. Are you the next LGBTQ business leader? This is a tangential subject that we cut episode number 23 of the Queer Money podcast titled 2 Ways to Make Your Company a Leader. Well, the number one way to make your company an LGBTQ leader is for you to be an LGBTQ leader. And we're going to talk about the 2 most important steps in making that happen on this Queer Money follow-up. Before we kick off, though, as usual, please give this video a thumb up. Please subscribe to this channel and then set notifications on this channel so that you know when we go live for these Queer Money follow-ups and you can dive in and join the discussion. We've had some interaction lately, and that's a lot of fun for the two of us. And also, I think, makes for better debate and discussion.
Yeah, we would love to hear some dissenting views or maybe some opposing views, right? We know that
dissenting is opposing, right?
we have yes, it is. Of course, you had to do that. But we know that that there's a lot of voices out there, and there's a lot of different voices in the LGBT community, and we'd love to hear some of your comments and thoughts around the subjects that we cover every single day.
Exactly. So, one of the reasons why we did episode 23 of the Queer Money podcast, we interviewed Betsy Codding of MassMutual, who was very integral in helping MassMutual create its 2015 Vow to Protect video campaign series, which gave a whole lot of love and support to the LGBTQ community and as well as the sorry, just got a pop-up and I got scared that we were losing our Wi-Fi. A lot of support for same-sex marriage. And why we wanted to talk with Betsy was because David and I have been a part of some companies that by all outward appearance show a lot of support for the LGBT community. They pay HRC for that A every year, and
that we'll get the 100 on the
HRC
100 index. But
and there's a lot, and there are a lot of companies that do that, right? They put their rainbow flag on their social media. They get the A from HRC because they make the annual donation to pay for that A. They don't outwardly object to LGBTQ causes and rights and same-sex marriage, but behind the scenes they're a little bit deceptive. And so their money as corporation, millions of dollars, and as their corporate leaders, which are often stale, male, and pale, are going towards organizations and politicians that are trying to take away the very same rights that they at least suggest outwardly that they support.
Right. I think, the recent ad that we saw that was out from the Lincoln Project kind of highlighted Charles Schwab as one of these companies, right? John and I both used to work for Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab always, every year, gets that 100, but clearly they are funneling massive amounts of dollars towards politicians that we know are out there trying to remove, and actually have voted multiple times to remove LGBT rights from not only the workplace, but also at the state and federal level. So it's not just they're taking into consideration what's going on with their employees, but they're actually trying to remove it so that we don't have any protections, right? The protections that don't happen at the state and federal level mean that the companies don't have to follow any guidelines from the state or federal level either, which opens us up to what used to happen, and that was discrimination, firing, persecution, basically allowing us to be persecuted by individuals who don't have the same views that we have, and these companies are still getting an A by all outward appearances. So
right, and I think what's kind of especially frustrating is that you and I would struggle year after year to get even $500 to help promote Schwab as a great place for LGBTQ people to work, when, as we have learned, they have no problem funneling millions of corporate dollars, and their leaders have no problem funneling millions of dollars to the very organizations and politicians who are trying to take away the rights of the employees who they say they support and who they say outwardly we don't care about someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. We just want to hire the best person. Right. Well, clearly that's not, you throw us $500 as a token, you put your rainbow flag on your logo, and you let your employees walk in a parade once a year, but that's really it.
Right.
And it's all become tokenism in support of the LGBT community.
Right. And just to be clear, the reason why John and I know this, we both used to work for Charles Schwab. Both of us were the chairs of the LGBT organization at the corporate level all across America. And so we had a very easy look at to see what it was that the company was doing. Don't want to harp on this particular issue because our goal here is to talk about how you can become an LGBT leader in your company and how you can help your company become more like the MassMutuals, the Capital Ones, the Prudentials. Those are just financial companies, but we think about companies like Campbell's Soup and their commercials, the commercials that have been aired over the Super Bowl from companies like Pepsi and GM that have imagery of LGBT individuals, which is really what we need, right? We need that kind of visibility so that not only those of us who are out feel confident in who we are and supported by these organizations, but for those individuals who are struggling to come out or struggling because they cannot come out, it's nice for them and the individuals around them to know that they have support from corporations that want equality for everyone. No special treatment. They just want everybody to be treated the same, right? And so I think that's why it's important for more and more leadership to come from corporations.
Right. I think the example of Schwab is really just to show, what headwinds we face and also why we need more leaders in LGBTQ leaders in these companies so that we can actually make the change, the actual authentic change that we need to see. So before we share those 2 tips, again, please give a thumbs up to this video, subscribe to this channel, set notifications on this channel so you can join in on the conversation. And David, do you want to share the first tip?
Sorry.
Jeez.
Something going on in my throat here, and I forgot to bring some water.
I'll share the first tip for ways
to
make yourself and your company an LGBTQ leader. Most organizations today have what's called an employee or a business resource group. Really what it is this is an organization or a group within the company that is supposed to, as David and I used to do, promote your company as a great place for your company to work. And as well as connect with the community for staffing purposes as well as business purposes. And while that can be, like as we suggested, while that may not necessarily provide you be the panacea that you might think it is, it's a good step in the right direction. And if you can position yourself as a leader within that sub-organization within your corporation, or actually be the head of that sub-organization within your corporation, then you have some wiggle room and some strength to be able to position yourself as well as the company as an LGBTQ leader.
Yeah, and a lot of these organizations inside of companies have different names, right? So sometimes they're called affinity groups, sometimes they're called employee resource groups, sometimes they're called business resource groups. And what is interesting, if you look at the history for LGBT rights in corporate America, the vast majority of the time companies have made progress. It is because of individuals within these groups encouraging and pushing their companies to make that kind of progress. So things like companies allowing their LGBT employees to claim adoption assistance for when they want to adopt children, for companies covering costs for individuals and keeping employees who are transitioning, the companies that were at the forefront of leading the fight for equality in marriage. A lot of those companies started off by giving their employees domestic partner benefits, and in some cases, the companies paying the tax difference so that those employees were treated basically equal when it came to their benefits. A lot of that started with these employee or business resource groups. And I just want to take a quick look backwards in history. A lot of times the way that these groups started, and where I'm talking about 10, 20, 30 years ago, what happened is individuals in the company started to come together as friends. They started to create kind of a social group, a social network. And that's kind of how corporations really first started supporting this, is they saw these individuals, birds of a feather, flocking together, right? And they thought that that was valuable because they understand that having a close colleague at work, someone you can have a level of confidence or confidentiality with, that individual, if you have that kind of individual, it makes you a better employee. It strengthens your bond to the company. Then after that, what started happening is they saw that these individuals in these in these groups were starting to bring their friends in as employees. They were encouraging their friends to come to these companies, and corporations started to see how valuable it was that these individuals were basically providing a first filter for good employees to come into the company. So they started to see a benefit to this. Then after that, they started to see the next level of benefit is that these individuals, like we had mentioned before, were going out there and encouraging these companies to make policy changes, to open up their business to LGBT individuals. And a lot of that brought financial benefit to these companies. So over time, they went from this kind of social organization to an organization that really does provide financial and valuable benefit to the company.
Yeah, it's almost like it's become a leg of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
But, I think what's important to note here is that David and I are, why we think it's important to try to position corporations and businesses as leaders for LGBTQ rights is because if you look throughout history, so much of the progress that we've made in LGBTQ rights and other marginalized groups' rights has been because of corporations. Corporations seem to move a bit faster than politics does, and sometimes politics is a slow boat. So a good way to actually try to speed politics along is to get corporate America behind it, because it does, as we suggested earlier, it does have the money to be able to, act as a carrot to these politicians who might not otherwise be incentivized to push for something that actually matters to its constituents.
Right. I'll add also that it isn't just joining the group that positions you as a leader, right? Just like a self-help book, joining these groups and doing nothing with them, or getting the book and not reading it, is fruitless, right? It does absolutely nothing for you. Just because you're a part of a group doesn't mean that business leaders within the company are going to actually see you. So you want to join the group and participate. And the more you can participate in a meaningful and valuable way, the more you're going to actually be seen by and become visible to individuals who you may not normally be able to connect with. When John and I were co-chairs at Schwab, we oftentimes were in the same room of senior leaders of the company when we were promoting or trying to encourage the company to do things with the LGBT community, which gave us the opportunity to connect with them more so than we would had we just been sitting in our cubicles and not really doing anything. So it gives you the opportunity. Now, for us, unfortunately, we don't feel like that was ever fruitful because we felt like there was cascading homophobia coming down from at Charles Schwab, and it's kind of looks like the media is actually starting to show that is the case. But what we want to do is we want to take advantage of these opportunities and create these opportunities. That's one of the things that leaders do. Leaders not only look for, but they also create the opportunities for themselves. And being a part of one of these groups and taking a step in leading in the group does give you that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it's important here to position yourself as a leader isn't synonymous with saying be the Julie Cruz director of your company at in your city or your town. Yeah, it's nice to have the happy hours and the holiday parties and to celebrate people's birthday parties or birthdays. But you also need someone who's willing to come up with creative ideas, connect with marketing and sales, connecting with the CEO, connecting with other executives, and really advocating for authentic change and authentic progress so that your company is actually a great place for your company, for LGBTQ people to work at, and so that your company isn't underhandedly paying you $500 while it's paying, I don't know, a politician, $5 million. You need to really push the boundaries and advocate for that authentic respect, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that more corporations are starting to realize is that diversity of thought helps companies grow in ways that they may not have grown if they're surrounded by a bunch of yes men, right? And so when they see individuals who are pushing the envelope, individuals who are encouraging the company to go in multiple directions, it allows for the company to think about ways that they wouldn't normally think about growing. And that's one of the things that you want to do when you're positioning yourself as a leader. So we said the first step was to join and participate. The second step is to really position yourself as a leader, going out there with maybe thought processes or ideas that the company isn't currently working on. And one of the things that you can do is look around at what other leadership in the LGBT companies are doing, right? So the companies like MassMutual, the companies like Campbell Soup, it's not just about advertising, but we know that involvement in the community, what kinds of ways that they are trying to reach out and support the LGBT community, both from the way in which the company connects so they can make money, because we know all these companies you work for profit companies, the vast majority of you, right? So when they connect with the LGBT community, they want to offer products and services that help serve the community just like they serve everyone else. And there may be unique ways in which they can connect. And you may know that, or you may be aware of it by what you see other companies doing that your colleagues are not watching for, right? So that gives you the opportunity to not only go in that new direction, but also be visible.
Actually, absolutely. And but when you made the comment about diversity of thought, another thing to consider to really position yourself and your company eventually as a leader in the LGBTQ community and supporting our rights is looking at the work that John Roberts has done with the EQLT Fund, as well as especially the work that Todd Sears has done at Out Leadership and his study and research on the investment inequality. And what they have found is that the more diverse a workplace, the more diverse the thought processes and the ideas are at a workplace, the better the company's bottom lines are. And if you're CEO, if your executive committee, if your company is really looking to push the envelope and improve its bottom line, have more income and revenue and more profit, all that good stuff that the stock market just soaks up. If your leaders actually want that, then they want diversity of thought. They want diversity of opinion. They want a diverse workforce. They don't want just a board and everybody in the E and C-suite level positions to be all stale, male, and pale. They should want that diversity. And so it might behoove you to sort of do this education, get well spoken on these topics so that you can, like we said, really push that envelope and create that massive change that we absolutely need.
Yeah.
So if you haven't gotten the impression yet, we'd encourage you to really step out and step up because it's going to take us as individuals in our individual corporations and then corporations to really push for the equality that we all need. I mean, we saw that in Indiana. We saw that in North Carolina a few years ago. That still needs to continue, even though we have Washington, D.C. is Democratic now, and we've got Biden in the office and Harris in office, and Democrats are in full power. We still need to push and advocate, especially now because we can make maybe more progress in the next 4 years than we could have in the previous 4 years.
Right.
So we encourage you to step out and step up.
And I think also the other thing we want to remember is if you want to be a leader, leaders lead before they're given the opportunity to lead. right? They show the skills, they show the frame of mind. The individuals who are given the opportunity to lead are not individuals who are inexperienced with leading. Your company will look to you to promote you as a leader if they've already seen you taking the opportunity and putting forth the effort to lead. So if you want to lead, this is a great place to start leading within your organization.
So thank you for joining us for another Queer Money Follow-Up. Here is your Queer Money Follow-Up takeaway from this episode. Please subscribe to the Queer Money Podcast at debtfreeguys.com/QM. Then let us know in the comments below or in the Queer Money Facebook group, if you're a member of that group there, whether or not you are the next LGBTQ leader. Because if you are, we would love to know that and to meet you. Finally, join us for tomorrow's episode 24 of the Queer Money Follow-Up when we cover episode 24 of the Queer Money Podcast, titled Heroes, Olives, and Financial Advisors with Kathy Pareto. We talk about financial advice for LGBTQ people by LGBTQ people. Lastly, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and set notifications on this channel so you don't miss future Queer Money Follow-Ups and miss out on the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.